Hello, welcome to this video about all the best wands in my ranking system. Let's get into it right away.
Running from cake.
Here we go. We have the Living Earth, Fire Blast, Corruption, Disintegrate, Blast Wave, Corrosion, Warding, Frost, Prismatic Light, Regrowth, Transfusion, Magic Missile, and the Lightning Bolt. So our tiers here are S, A, B, C, and D. So what do I think of these? Like S to me is it can win the run hands down. You just put all your upgrades in that and you're good to go. A, you could probably also do that, but it might not be quite like a free win. B and C are going to be more like utilities, and D, I don't know. There may not be too many in D. So let's get started with the S. I'm going to go Fire Blast. Really strong. When you're going to full wand build, you may just be completely dominated early game, but you get to the king fight in the metropolis, and all of a sudden there are all these little minions you gotta take care of, and you run out of charges and you find yourself kind of weak. That's where things like the Fire Blast and the Disintegrate that can hit multiple targets at once really shines. You might think Lightning because it also hits multiple targets, but that actually is kind of an A- for me, B+, because when you're in melee, if you're right next to a creature, it hits you as well. So even though it does do a lot of damage, you end up taking some, and if you're trying to avoid that damage, you may find yourself not using it when you could. I may move it down. Now a surprise S is going to be Regrowth. Like, people may think this is just like a utility wand, but this is actually surprise overpowered because it roots. Not only does it give you a bunch of dew and seeds like healing and other forms of utility that way, but it roots targets. And if you root something a couple squares away from you and it makes grass in between, it also breaks the line of sight. So ranged creatures can't hit you, other creatures forget who you are, and it enables surprise attacks. And if you go like, try going plus 15 on it sometime, you get this thing called the Golden Lotus, which is like a rare spawn plant, and it just makes things absolutely crazy. If you do it with the Warden, it's one of the funnest kind of like secret hidden builds most people don't know about. I have some videos on it. It's super duper fun. It kind of changes the way the game is played completely. So talking about things that change the way the game is played, I kind of like the Wand of Warding as well. I'm going to put it up in A. Because if you go max Wand of Warden, you stop playing like normal Tank and Spank Shatter Pixel Dungeon. You actually start playing more like a tower defense game and like a strategy type game, because you'll set up your wards kind of in like a central hub, and then you'll lure enemies back to them rather than, fighting everything on the spot. It's really fun. Takes a little bit of getting used to because you can hit them with your like shurikens and other projectiles and destroy them. But the fact that you can shoot it through walls to recharge it is from anywhere on the map is completely insane. It's super insane. It's really fun. I highly recommend it. Frost, I gotta give it a B. To me, it's completely utility. Damage, not super great. If you were like to just try and have it be your main. Really good against fire elementals. And really good for your meat and turning your raw meat into frozen carpaccio. So to me, that's like complete utility. Also, slowing enemies down so you can run away from them and, hit them with range attacks and kite them out. It kind of keeps it utility-ish. I'm going to give it a C+. I may bring it back up. Corrosion S. This is one of those that just wipes out hallways of monsters. I think you can win the game just on the back of this easily. Blast Wave, I will give it an S, not because it kills things so simple, but because it knocks them back and paralyzes them, like totally opening you up to other, range attacks. And knocking things off of edges and off of cliffs into chasms is just some of the most fun I ever have is when I get to do it. And so you don't need a lot of charges and a lot of upgrades. Even like a +1 or even 0 can still give you a lot of value, just paralyzing things or knocking them into cliffs. So that, I know I'm kind of getting heavy on the S, but wands are really strong. I think that might be it for the S ones. So we go to Living Earth. I'm gonna give it an A. Some people really love it and they always tell me, hey, go Living Earth, especially when you do the mage. It doesn't do a lot of damage. It gives you a lot of good shielding, and the little creature it spawns is really nice because they can tank a couple hits for you. But I find like it just dies and I'm out of charges. I'm kind of gonna lean it on B+ for here actually. Magic Missile, I kind of want to give it a C. It doesn't do a lot of damage. The way it empowers your other wands is cool, but it's kind of just like a filler starter wand. It's not super great in my opinion. Transfusion seems like bad. These kind of seem bad, but the shielding it gives you and the charging and the charm that gives you a couple turns of like enemies not beating you up is actually really nice. I got one of these on the last 9 challenge runs I played, and I was dying, and it completely kept me going. I ended up dying, you know, later, of course, but it got me through the sewers and almost through the prisons. I probably would have kept going, but I did something dumb, as one does. So this is actually not as bad as people might think, and it also does damage to undead instead of charming them. So you get a shield and you do damage at the same time. Really good for like last hitting skeletons because they blow up on you, but you get the shield from it. Speaking of things that does extra damage to undead and demons, the Wand of Prismatic Light. Because disintegration will start to fall off in the demon halls because those creatures are actually resistant to its damage type, but it still does a lot more damage. And this is going to do less in all the other areas, but then it's going to do more in the demon halls. It has a chance to proc blind, which is really good. Blind's one of the best status effects, but I find it a bit unreliable, and you can only hit one creature at a time. So the one thing you might notice in common that all these have is they can all hit multiple creatures. The regrowth, you know, the root is just really good, but these can take out like halls. You can like hit a spawning trap and just take them all out at once with these. Blast Wave, I mean, you're not really using it for AAE, but you can knock a bunch of guys off cliffs at once. You can also paralyze them all at once. Finally, we have the Corruption Wand. I'm going to drop it down there. Well, corrupting a minion is really good. It turns it kills it, basically, and you get the experience, and it'll drop any items it has. But then it turns into like a zombie that works for you and goes and fights and slowly dies over time. But the chance of getting that is kind of hard. You kind of got to play it like Pokemon, like you got to weaken it, and once it's at very low health, you can have a higher chance of corrupting it. And sometimes you have to shoot a couple charges, and you're going to run out of charges. So that is the tier list. Very welcome to disagree. It's just my own opinion, but I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you're still punching on. Rat Punchers, punch on. Cheers. Take care.
Rat Punchers, punch on!